Hey, what's up guys? Back here with another video. Um Here I just wanted to make a quick video on how to set up a comic page. Not really setting it up because it's already set up, but kind of walking you through the process of how I make the page flow a little bit. And here you can see, well, I got two pages here. And I'll point this one out because I'm also gonna, half the video is gonna be towards like page composition, and the other half I'll be inking this guy in. So I'll be inking with this one too, the Copic Multiliner. It's a 0.3. It's my favorite one to work with because you could build up lines pretty well with it. It's not too thick and it's not too thin. But yeah, here you can see the pages. It's so here it starts off with these three scientists. They're aliens, right? And they're experimenting on this brain. Here you can see the machinery used for it, and then it starts off to a transition to the other page with this handshake. And so you could see here each panel kind of has a shape that points it to the next panel. So, and then the other panel will have a shape to receive the flow from the previous panel and then direct you into the second panel after it. So here you could see this kind of shape here where it's like a triangular shape. Triangles, they're the strongest shape in nature, and so like if you want a direct flow, triangles are the best for that. And here you could see these characters here, they kind of point down the middle, which is this panel. And then right away, right when you enter this panel, I want to make sure I capture the whole page here, so I don't want to zoom in too much. But yeah, you could see in this panel, the brain is going to be a big shape here, and so it's like a dot. You focus on it right away, right when you enter from that panel. You kind of focus on the doctor, and then all these curved shapes, I want to get rid of that spiral here, and then they kind of point it into here, right? Then you see here, these three things, they point down the middle into this dot that's going to be brighter than the rest of the panel, and it points it down through these cables, and then bam, right at the last panel. And then because I do the lettering by hand, I know where the lettering will be, and it focuses on these this kind of flow, and it meets the reader's eye. So the paneling and the lettering and the drawings kind of go in the same direction. The reason I do the lettering by hand is because it really annoys me doing it after the drawing. I like doing it before, and that's just my style. I don't recommend it because it is, I feel like it's more difficult, but because I get confused really easily with visuals, I prefer to have it done first because somebody isn't doing it for me. So if nobody's doing the lettering for me, I'm gonna do it myself, and if I'm gonna do it myself, I have to do it by hand. That's just me. But I think it is easier for most people with some kind of photo editing program like Photoshop or Clip Studio. But yeah, that's the basic idea of guiding the eye. Now let me show you the other page. These pages I'm gonna paint them, but for now they're just black and white, and I'm trying to like get the basic idea in with just cross hatching and washes, and then it makes the painting a little bit easier. Let me try to move out. Okay, so here this page starts off with an establishing shot. They're between I think it was Saturn and Neptune. Was it Saturn and Uranus? I don't know. It was two of those planets. And so here I'll just have this like kind of big vessel here that looks like an asteroid, and then here you got this smaller satellite type vessel with a city inside, and it's moving towards it, right? And here I'm gonna make sure to have these lit up. That right here is in the bottom of that vessel that we saw up there earlier, and it enters it in the next panel. And then we'll see that there's this ominous looking guy that's inside it. And so here I'll guide you through the shapes. You start off right away within Saturn's ring. We see this, so that's the first thing we see, right? And then Saturn's ring kind of points to that. But between the lettering here, you see this picture, and it kind of flows back into this, and that's why I drew the vessel going this way here. We see that, right? And then I feel like I kind of the guiding didn't go too well here, but because the paneling here is smaller, it kind of does guide it. It has that shape to it. And then this slides down, and then the vessel here points to this page. See the guy sitting here, and then you see the what's it called? Maybe if you didn't finish the reading before, you could read it here, I guess. Yeah, I don't think everybody, of course, when they read a comic page, they read it differently, and your job as the illustrator and the letterer is to make sure that that experience is not too distracting. And so, of course, everybody reads it differently. But here, I'm trying to like have this flow to it here, and then you see all these screens, and the screens are in a perspective that kind of expands, and so you'll see this here. And a trick you could use for lining up the eye to where you want it to go is perspective. So here you can see this 3-point perspective, right? The vanishing point is somewhere off the page all the way up here, and then it expands, and so this is at the base of it. Sometimes you can even have 1-point perspective that leads off the page, and that perspective point will be the next panel. And so there's a lot of tricks you could use to what's it called, set up pages and panels and all of that. I gotta admit my paneling isn't the best, but of course, like, I have to work on it like everything else. But it's these little tricks that really help you when paneling and doing it in a shorter amount of time. I gotta admit, like, the part that's most difficult in setting up pages is the which panels to choose, and you know how to fit the subjects inside the panels, because that's paneling itself is a challenge, and then fitting all the subjects within the panel is a challenge, especially when you receive a script. Because I did not write the story is not mine, but I helped design some of the characters, but the main ideas are not mine. And so it's hard for me to visualize everything, and especially when the writer does not give a concrete description of what's happening. I had to interpret the script. The script did not come in panels either. So sometimes you'll have a script like that, and then sometimes you'll have a script where, it's the panels are concrete and everything is described in them. And both of them have their advantages and their disadvantages. Both of them have their pros and cons in terms of it is more enjoyable to work on something that is less concrete, because you can add more of what you want in there. But but yeah, let's start inking this guy. Let me put on the glove so I don't smudge anything. You know what? I don't know where the glove is, so no worries. I wanted to make sure that his head is I wanted to give him all distinct head shapes. Let me just move this in. Perfect. Yeah, so these alien guys, their heads are like some kind of a chrome material. And it's supposed to be reflective. And so I wanted to amplify the shadows. And with metals, shadows are more contrasted, and lights too. But at the same time, it's a challenge because faces have to be expressive. So you see how here for this guy, I want to give him like a very stoic looking face, and this guy looks more concentrated, this one here. And so the contrast that I added is very focused on the folds of the face or the edges, just to bring it out more. But yeah, here you see the parts. So the light's kind of entering from here, and so there is not going to be like a concrete shadow on what's it called, like on one side of the face. It's going to be distributed throughout it. It's going to be like in the edges and stuff. Sometimes to give the illusion of metal, you repeat a certain pattern. So if here you got that, and you could just add these these dots to it here makes it look like it's repeating. Yeah, it looks slightly metallic. But I don't want to sacrifice the emotion of the face for the material. And that's one thing that makes humans very, unique. But it's also probably because, we're used to it, is how expressive our faces are, And, skin is different than most material. It's very, what's the word? It's not like metal, where it's like metal don't move, And so textures in metal just, they don't look good folded. Like if you take a piece of aluminum foil and crumple it up versus like a piece of, well, you're not gonna find skin to fold up, but if you do it the same thing to both materials, it's one material is gonna bear the folds and move correctly with the stuff and reflect light in a way that's more comfortable than metal, right? Metal doesn't fold as well as the material our face is made out of. Alright, kind of messed up around here, but I'll build up that line. Increase the shadow up here. And that's what I like about using this pen for the underdrawing. Later I will use the, where'd it go? After I paint, I like to use this along with this type of ink because it doesn't shine at the end if I'm using it over paint. When you're using certain inks over paint, if you're using an acrylic ink, right, it doesn't shine. It doesn't leave that like distracting shine, especially if well, of course if you scan it, it won't, right? But sometimes people will buy your art, right? And you don't want them when like they hang it up or something for it to have like an annoying shine or something. And so you want it to be presentable in terms of how you will be scanning it and how it will look digitally, and how it will be printed, and at the same time presentable in terms of how it will look when somebody buys it, hopefully, because of course you want to sell your art, right? And at the same time you want it to look presentable on paper. So even if you don't sell it, you just it's a win-win if you use the correct materials. And it will also like help you while you're drawing, because if you're looking at something while you're drawing and it's just distracting to your eyes, you're not going to draw as well as if it looks comfortable to your eye. So make sure you're using the right materials and stuff. Like I don't like using Copic inks or the Koh-i-Noor ink, the one I used in my other videos, on top of paint, because it just gives that shining glossy feel that I don't like at all in paint. I mean on a finished painting. And here you can see that the pencils are very, very loose. Very loose. And so the technology I'm going for here in this drawing, for these characters, is based on characters I've drawn before and also what I'm imagining. And I wanted to make it as fluid as possible. And that's why I drew this loose version of the pencils, because kind of gets me to get into that state of just flowing and drawing like calligraphic type of designs that just flow well together, so it looks more alien, like with most of our technology on Earth, it's very technical, right? It's very planned out, and like we're kind of like, when we look at it, like we kind of know that it's machinery, it's not something organic. But when you're drawing alien technology, I feel like you got to make sure that kind of has like a an organic feel to it. like it's been, moving and stuff. Like you see stuff like that, I wouldn't have been able to pencil that. It just kind of, the way the pen flows, it just happens on its own, kind of. And of course, it's not always a style that everybody will like, but in terms of the process, right? But I'm just experimenting here and seeing how it will turn out. Thought it was going to be a good idea. And I really like how it turned out on the first guy. The cape, also the second guy. The only thing I don't like is the body on the inside is way too loose. And so you could always fix that in the painting in the end. And this type of like engravings on the sides of their clothing, something I really like how it turned out. And I'm going to add like a chain here. I want to make sure that it's, if you're ever drawing a chain, you got to make sure that it curves properly. So here it's, the heaviest point in the center has to kind of lean this way because they're all looking at something here. Because if I make a point that way, it's going to kind of be distracting. And if you ever notice that mistakes are more noticeable than something that's drawn correctly. So if you just minimize the amount of fundamental mistakes and you just do whatever for the rest and draw stuff natural looking, your drawing is always going to look all right, And see, this is another thing I like about these pens is that in the other video I talked about how I usually use G pens for inking, and that is usually the case, especially if I'm going to be working in only black and white. But here I'm going to be painting, so the underdrawing can be loose pen work, right? And loose inking. And then the final inks on top of all of it will be in the G pen because that has to be tight work. It's got to be tight. Here, this is loose, and so it could always be fixed. And of course, it's more time consuming that way, but I want it to look, it's got to look good. And also, like, I'm not trying to do a page a day here. That would be crazy if I could work that fast. But since I am doing the lettering, interpreting the script, it's not like a concrete script and all that. It should be taking more than 1 page a day. Like, 1 page a day is only like if you're penciling, Or if it's like, you got a ready script and you're just doing black and white and you're not doing the coloring on your own. I'm going to be painting it, so the coloring will be my job also. So it is going to take more than 1 day, sometimes 2, maybe even 3 for a page. I want to just have these on this side. I'm not going to put them on this side because I feel like they're going to be too distracting. But maybe I'll put some dots here. Nice. Okay. Hope you enjoyed this video. I think it lasted longer than I thought it was. But hope you learned something. And, if you got any questions or any topics, you want for another video, let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching. Laters.